Hey everybody. So we're not too far away from Pesach. Monday night is the first Seder. And there's a part of the Haggadah that we're going to read this year that probably has a deeper impact and more meaning than any part of the Haggadah, any other part of the Haggadah. And even though we've read this year after year after year, it probably has a whole new layer of meaning and understanding this year in light of recent events that have been going on against Israel and the Jewish people. And so, what do I refer to? The Haggadah gives us a little bit of a pre-Egypt history. And we go back to Avraham, actually, and it tells us that in the beginning, Mitchila, Ovdei Avodah Zarah Hayu Avotenu, that way before pre-Jewish history, Avraham, before him, his father, they were involved with idol worship. And there's a quote from the book of Joshua that it says that Terach, the father of Avraham, the father of Nahor, Avraham's brother, they served other gods. But I took your father Avraham from beyond the river. I led him all the way across the land of Canaan. I multiplied his offspring, gave him Isaac. Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. Esau I gave Mount Seir as inheritance, while Jacob and his children went down to Egypt. Skips the whole part of Joseph and his brothers and such, but that's kind of how we get the pre-Exodus story of how they got there down in Egypt. But we go back to Avraham, because right after that, it says that God calculated the end. Not that God needs to calculate anything, but the prophecy that he shared with Avraham from the get-go, from the very, very beginning. And he says, Yadoa Teda, you should know, Kiger Yezaracha Be'eretz Lo Lahem, that your children are going to be strangers in a land that's not their own. They'll be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. It was actually 210 years. Why they get to the 400, the commentaries talk about that, but let's leave that for now. And God says, so they'll be oppressed, but know that I shall judge the nation that enslaves them. And then they will leave with great wealth. So Avraham was told from get-go that the Jewish people would be enslaved. But he was promised that God will take them out of there, and not only will he take them out of there, but with a lot of wealth as well. And then we say right after this, and we lift our cup, and this is the part of the Haggadah that I suggest, and I'm sure you'll agree, probably has more meaning than in any other year that we've said it, and probably than anything else we'll say this year when we read and recite the Haggadah. Vihi, and it's this promise that God gave Avraham, that even though they'll be enslaved, he'll redeem us. She'amda lavotenu v'lanu, that has stood by our ancestors and us. Shelo echad bilvad amed aleinu lechalotenu, because it's just not one occurrence, it's just not one off, one time, where they stood up to wipe us out. And here's the kicker. Elo shebechol dor v'dor omdim aleinu lechalotenu. In each and every generation, they attempt to wipe us out. Each and every generation, they try and wipe out Avraham's children, the Jewish people. We have not experienced that. Last Pesach, we read that. Okay, we refer back to the Holocaust. We refer back to all kinds of things in history. But this year, it takes on a whole different meaning in light of what's gone on after October 7th, and more intensely recently, after all the 300 missiles and drones that were sent by Iran against Israel. Every generation, they try and wipe us out. Iran tried to walk it back. Oh no, we really didn't want anything to hit. Yeah. They would have been dancing in the street if one of those missiles would have made it through. And so this could sound very, very depressing and create a lot of anxiety. And we do have a lot of anxiety. Last Saturday night, everyone felt it. However, what's the punchline? V'kadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu mi'adam. God saves us from their hands, from their efforts, from their designs. It was a miracle. 300 attempts that could have done tremendous destruction. Yes, of course, there's all the things that went into play. Human endeavor, the Iron Dome, the aero missiles, whatever they call them, that were knocking things down, the other nations that even got involved, the United States, Jordan. but still ultimately the Almighty protected us. So while we're during these anxious times, while we sit around the table on Pesach and we read these words, despite all our anxiety, despite all our concerns, despite all our worries, we should never lose sight of the promise that God gave Avraham when he told him, yes, they'll try and wipe you out. However, Matzileni mi'adam, God is there to protect our people from their hands, from their designs, from their wants. He should continue to do that until ultimately we get to Geula Shlema, the complete redemption of the Jewish people, where no longer will the nations of the world want to wipe us out, but they'll recognize and appreciate that it's in their interest to support us, because they too will get bracha, which was also told to Avraham at the very beginning, that those who bless us, they'll also get bracha and blessing by assisting and helping us as well. Have a Chag Sameach, Chag Kasher v'Sameach, have a wonderful Pesach, and Shabbat Shalom.